We made a video yesterday discussing how much Starmer's ratings had fallen in the first 50 days of him coming into office. We stated that we don't remember a time when a Prime Minister lost the confidence of his voters so quick. Yes, the very same people that voted for him 6 weeks ago. We have seen petitions of people trying to oust him, and now protests have started. Now, as always, a person with a St. George's flag has to be careful when protesting, as you get boxed as a right-wing thug. However, spoiler, there was no violence, but as you know, the media won't show you that side. Before we get in and watch the clip and discuss it, please hit the like and subscribe button and join our fast-growing community. Now, our clip takes us to Bournemouth, actually a town that isn't that radical, and generally speaking more a conservative sort of place. However, despite this, the people are sick of this current government and sick of the two-tier systems, two-tier policing and two-tier Keir Starmer. Now they weren't alone. They were joined by protesters from the far left. Check these clips.
How many refugees do you house? Go back to refugees! How many economic migrants do you house? How many illegal migrants do you house? None! I don't want them! I can't have one! My house refugees don't welcome it anymore! They are liars, they are hypocrites, they are the communists in Britain!
As you can see, some people peacefully protesting and standing up to this government. You wouldn't believe that British nationals would be capable of peaceful protests, would you? Well, that's what the media makes out. What are your thoughts on the people of Bournemouth standing up to Starmer's regime? In other news, Labour has activated emergency plans to combat prison overcrowding, as fast-track charges and sentences for rioters continue to pile up. The plan, named Operation Early Dawn, will see defendants waiting for court appearances across the north of England shipped out to police cells, where they will not be summoned to magistrates' courts until prison spaces open up again. The crackdown, fewer than 2 months into Sir Keir Starmer's government, will be imposed across Cheshire, Cumbria, Lancashire, Manchester, Merseyside, the North East and Yorkshire. Early Dawn had been triggered for a week in May this year under the Conservatives, and back then, a Labour spokesman had stated the party would scrap the early release system altogether. Crown Prosecution Service figures put the total number of riots-related charges at almost 500 people, but the Ministry of Justice has blamed a crisis inherited from the Tories. Lord Timpson, the PM's hand-picked prisons and probation minister, called the move difficult but necessary, while police leaders have assured the public that policing will continue to arrest anyone that they need to. He said, "We inherited a justice system in crisis and exposed to shocks. As a result, we have been forced into making difficult but necessary decisions to keep it operating. However, thanks to the hard work of our dedicated staff and partners, we have brought forward additional prison places and now introduced Operation Early Dawn to manage the pressure felt in some parts of the country." He added that convicted offenders who pose a risk to the public will not be bailed under the plans, which include sex offenders, some violent offenders, and those convicted of terrorism or domestic abuse-related crimes. But British Stand understands the operation will result in an estimated 5,500 offenders being released across September and October. Some of those released early could include offenders convicted of crimes relating to the riots the government has confirmed. Deputy Chief Constable Nev Kemp, the National Police Chiefs Council's NPCC's custody lead, said, "We are working closely with criminal justice system partners to manage demand in the system and ensure that the public are safe. Policing will continue to arrest anyone that they need to in order to keep the public safe, including policing protests and events, and ensuring that people are arrested as expected." Back in May under the Tories, David McNeill, the Public Affairs Director of the Law Society, told the BBC that the impact on and delays to court cases led to him hearing quite disturbing accounts of administrative carnage. McNeill had said, "We're having victims, witnesses, lawyers and defendants turning up at magistrates' courts today, only to find that the case has been cancelled and delayed to some point in the future." Keir Starmer's Labour government is desperate to move Britain closer to the EU, leaving the Brexit dream of divergence from Brussels a distant memory. And Starmer's government hasn't wasted time in installing actions that put Britain firmly back on the path, rejoin its European friends. One of these strategies comes in the form of the Product Safety Bill, which gives Starmer fresh powers to shadow single market rules. UK's Product Safety and Metrology Bill aims to enhance consumer protection and improve telecommunications infrastructure in the UK. It includes provisions for stricter safety standards for products, especially those sold online, and introduces more rigorous enforcement mechanisms. Starmer can leverage this bill to align UK standards more closely with the EU's regulations and mimic European economies. Despite the German economy being in dire straits and the British economy outperforming both the Germans and the French in terms of GDP growth, since the pre-pandemic year of 2019, Starmer is seeking to put things in place which would allow Britain to shadow those economies. The bill will allow Starmer to sign up to endless EU projects and embrace even fewer Brexit opportunities. By advocating for robust consumer protection that mirrors EU laws, Starmer can argue for regulatory alignment with the EU, which he claims facilitates smoother trade and reduces barriers. This approach will appeal to Remainer businesses and consumers who favour close economic ties with Europe post-Brexit. But closer alignment with EU rules will undermine the UK's sovereignty, a key pillar of the Brexit vote, and adopting EU-style regulations could signal a step back towards the very relationship that the British public chose to leave in 2016. The dishonesty and betrayal of Labour over this legislation is sadly what we must come to expect, a spokesperson for Nigel Farage's Reform UK party said. What are your thoughts on the protests in Bournemouth, and do you believe there should be more peaceful ones to oust Starmer? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe and join our fast-growing community. Take care, goodbye.